Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we're going to be playing round 2 of Blue-Green Cocoa Merfolk in the Explorer format. Now I'm using the same list as before, might make some innovations once I get a few more games under my belt, but the main idea is to load up on the Merfolk Lords, notably Mistbinder and Vodalian Hexcatcher. And Hexcatcher is the one that really unlocked this archetype, at least in this format. And yeah, so that's what we have going on. Honorary Lord with Deeproot Elite, which can add some counters, some aggressive 1-drops, and then Collected Company. And a trick I like for blue Collected Company decks is to stuff it with a few Glasspool Mimics. It can help boost your creature count hits off Collected Company. So, but yeah, that's what we have going on. And the most tricky things we can do in this deck are to sort of force spike non-creature spells with Hexcatcher and tap things or make them lose their abilities with Trickster. But other than that, we're just jamming creatures and hoping to get them dead. So anyway, let's jump to some games. Alright, game 1. This is more land heavy than we'd like, but at least we have Cocoa mana, so we have that going for us. And just greeted with the turn 1 Thoughtseize from the opponent, and now this hand is starting to look a lot worse, because now we have 4 lands and 2 spells, and now 5 lands. Interestingly, they took the 1/1 unblockable. You think they would have taken like Vodalian Hexcatcher or something like that. So, but then there's another Thoughtseize. So let's see what gets taken next. And I'm assuming it's going to be the Hexcatcher here. But they surprised me when they take the Elite, and we finally draw a non-land, which is great. And it seems like a good time to just hold up Hexcatcher at instant speed. See what the opponent does. And we see the red land, so opponent's on red-black mid-range. We see Blood-Tide Harvester hit the battlefield to get their blood token. And they start passing through their phases. So we run out the Hexcatcher. Alright, and then another land is pretty tough. At least it's a creature land, so it has a little bit going for it, but yeah, we just run up the Jade Bearer, put the counter on the Hexcatcher, and I'm not sure if this is a good attack or not, but I just felt like attacking. I'm not quite sure how to justify it, but figured just put them under some pressure. And yeah, so the opponent just takes the damage though, prioritizing their Blood-Tide Harvester, and they have Bone Crusher Giant. So this is a decision point right here. Do we simply just fizzle the Bone Crusher by attempting to do the force spike with Hexcatcher, or do we go all in and try and first sacrifice Jade Bearer to protect the Hexcatcher? So I was very close to just fizzling Bone Crusher, but decide, just let's see how far they're willing to go with this. And I think it's hard to say, but I think I did it the worst way. I think it would have been better just to settle for fizzling Bone Crusher by just sacrificing Hexcatcher, and then we'd have at least a 1/1 left over. Who knows what 1-mana plays they might have had though, but anyway, did it the way I did it. I don't know if that was quite optimal. And now we draw our what's its name? Not exactly great right now that we've ran out of creatures, so that's another reason to the mirror pool is another reason to keep a creature in play, because now we don't have a valid target for it. We do have our creature land though. We have to bear in mind the opponent has a Hive of the Eye Tyrant, so they have a creature going on as well. I played an untapped land here because we've just seen Bone Crusher Giant, so I want to make sure that I can make Lair a 3/3 and doesn't get shot by another Bone Crusher. So, wait, no, I can't make it a 3/3. Sorry, I can only make it a 2/2. I needed to have an extra mana open for that purpose. Then opponent slams Lily on the Veil, and things are just spiraling out of control right now. It's going horrible. They pitch an extra Lily, But we draw pretty nicely. We draw a Merfolk Mistbinder. However, it's actually not that great because they're just going to Edict their Liliana. And so you can see me hesitating here, like, do I even play it? But they're just going to keep plussing Liliana otherwise, so I just run it out there, force them to lose some loyalty. And see what happens. But it's not an enviable position to be in right now. Yeah, so they just activate the Edict mode, and they're going to start hammering us with Hive of the Eye Tyrant. And so things are going pretty well for the opponent. They have a Liliana that's going to be able to start upticking now. They have Hive that's just attacking us, and then mana to cast anything they draw. But hello, what's that? That's Collected Company off the top rope. So that is absolutely incredible. That's exactly what we needed to get back into this game. Opponent finds a land. We have the Glasspool to like insulate our hand from Liliana for at least one turn, so we can pitch that. It's not doing anything yet. We would love to have it post company, but Liliana is taking away our options. So they attack with Hive. And I decided to collect a company before. I mean, they can't do anything. We know that. I make a small mistake here. Should have just not put out the Glasspool Mimic. I knew that it was not going to survive this, but keeping it in our deck would have increased our spell density a little bit more. So that was a mistake by me, just casting the going to die Glasspool Mimic. It needs a target in play. It can't come into play with a target. Like, it can't come into play with something else and target that thing it came to play with, basically. So, but things just keep looking up for us. We draw another Lord and have another Collected Company, and we take down Liliana. So opponent still has Hive. Okay, so they're just going to hammer us with that. But it feels real good getting Liliana off the board. Now, I didn't fire... I mean, I could have gambled with Collected Company trying to hit a Lord, but decided just to go for the guaranteed play last turn at the loss of some mana. So that was playing it a little safe. But decided to do it during combat and happened to hit 2 Lords. So we're able to just hammer them for a ton of damage. They fall to 5, and any 2 of the creatures kill them right now. Liliana, you know, we have some like Force Spike ability, but it's just not going to be enough. I mean, they can get rid of one of them. But just like that, I mean, it felt like the game was spiraling out of control. And then all of a sudden, just a couple Collected Companies, and then we just snatched the game right back from the opponent, despite, you know, Liliana's and other stuff going on. It doesn't matter. So opponent's at 5. We have multiple 3+ power creatures, so we just need Merfolk Trickster to tap down one of the 1/1s, and then it's smooth sailing from here. The opponent sees the writing on the wall, and they're done. So very good win against red-black mid-range. Let's keep it going. So snap off this hand, have early plays, but oh no. Kumena Saga comes down, and we're already off to the races here. Mono red does not let up. Let's see what the opponent's turn 2 plays. That's also pretty bad. Kari Zev with the 1/1 counter. So opponent's having about as optimal a start as they possibly can. And maybe I should have played out Merfolk, Vodalian Hexcatcher here. Went for like the I guess slower but more longer term value of the Deeproot Elite. See if that comes back to bite us. But here it is, turn 3. Opponent's attacking us for 6, and we have no blocks. So I'm frantically trying to race them. We can shell out the damage as well with this deck, but their deck is engineered for that. So Bone Crusher, that was a bad one. And that's an argument for putting the Hexcatcher out there. Could have at least fizzled Bone Crusher with the Hexcatcher out there. So that's a little sad. Playing the land on the blue side, playing out Jade Bearer, and then playing out Hexcatcher, and still going aggro here, trying to race them. Not sure if it's the best idea trying to race mono red, especially when they're off to like an insane start like this. Notably, they have a Castle Embereth, so that's going to be bad news for us in the future. And you could see me just snap off the no blocks. Just maybe I have too much aggro player mentality, like trying to race them, but I think their deck is just a little bit more calibrated for these kind of races. And they went first, and they're having like a really great turn. Burning Tree is really bad for us because that means Bone Crusher also comes down. Collected Company is great, but we're just not quite there yet. So here's a turn where I think I make a few mistakes. I played Jade Bearer, boosting the other Jade Bearer, and end up attacking in with the 2 creatures. I think that was just far too overzealous. If I sat and thought for a second, realized like with Castle Embereth out there and how many creatures they have, this is just too reckless. And the opponent senses like, yeah, they can just take the damage. So even with the Lord coming down, like sure we knocked them to 8, but we only have 3 blockers. And the land is real rough because that means firing up Den means that it's exactly lethal. So I overextended. I got too excited trying to race them. Should have kept at least 1 creature back. Maybe should have just not attacked with anyone that turn, since our creatures were starting to outsize theirs, and we could have maybe set up some favorable blocks and then ground them out with Collected Company. So, yeah, I think so. Those are some mistakes I think that led us to this point right here. And I think had I played it slightly differently, might have had a chance. On to the next one, though. So once again, a little land heavy, but Collected Company will fix that right up for us. So Fabled Passage from the opponent. Could be like an Omnath deck, like when you see them playing Fabled Passages. Alright, so we have our choice of creatures to lead with. Decide to get the creature land into play because that has a small window of coming to play untapped, so put up the unblockable creature and see what's going to happen. Another Fabled Passage. So at this point, I'm really thinking like Omnath. Like, okay, like they're loaded with Fabled Passages. Though that's like a base green deck, so seeing blue and white, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not Omnath. Trying to figure out what they're running. So at this point, run out 2 more 1/1s. Getting like flooding the board is better if we draw out like a Lord, then it's gonna be pumping more creatures. So that's the justification for that. Let me see the blue-white tap land and realize that okay, are we against blue-white control? That is a problem because they're gonna be loaded with rafts and removal and stuff like that. So it could be pretty rough. So we're just holding up Merfolk Trickster. Smothering Tithe. So it's not control, it's something else. Probably some sort of combo deck where they're hoping to hit the memory half of Commit Memory with Smothering Tithe and you know, basically keep churning wills into each other, making tons of treasures. It could be like a combo deck. That's what we're potentially facing. And so we have land number 4, and we have Collected Company. And there's always a question of do you do it end step or pre-combat to a Wrath. Doomscar. So I think I played that pretty poorly, and now Smothering Tithe is starting to go up. So like they cleared the board. Now they're getting a ton of mana to do whatever shenanigans they're trying to set up. But Silvergill Adept is going to help at least dig us a little deeper. Okay, Merfolk Trickster. Declining to pay Smothering Tithe, just trying to run out enough creatures to keep them under pressure at this point. But it feels decent that we were able to put 4 more power out there. End up shocking that land in just to have Trickster options open. Cavalier of Dawn. So, interesting choice. It's a cool card. So they decided to use it on their own permanent. And so they're going to get a 3/3 Golem for their troubles. And they have a 4/6 Vigilance. So our little dinky attacker's not looking so great. And then here comes Mirror Maid to make another Smothering Tithe. And so now, I mean, we're going to have to just let some of the treasures through, right? Like, we can't pay for everything. Decide to tap down their 4/6 end of turn, and then, wow, collected company off the top. Now, there is risk here of, like, letting them have treasures. Maybe they have, like, a sensor or something like to count to, or, you know, something to counter our collected company. So there is risk at letting them make some right here. Decide, like, collected company is just too good. We have to try and cast it right here. And so I just fired off pre-combat because if we hit a Glasspool Mimic, like we did, and a Lord, which is probably not super necessary, the Glasspool Mimic can copy our Trickster, tap down their last remaining blocker, and the Lord is going to give everyone the necessary boost for lethal right here. We got there anyway. On to the next one. So I snap off this one. I honestly probably should have looked at the lands a little better, but the land situation's real rough. So we can't really perfectly curve out here because of that land. So, but it's not the worst. We play a Silvergill Adept, and we'll be able to play a ton of creatures next turn. Let's see what we draw, and then Vodalian Hexcatcher. And then on the other side, the opponent has played a Gate, and they play a second Gate, and so we know that they're on like some sort of Gates deck. So Gatebreaker Ram, I think Gate something Colossus, Gates Ablaze, that kind of stuff. So, but we have an amazing, like, we have a really low curve deck. A lot of things going on. Decide to play another Silvergill just to keep the cards flowing. If we can get another land, that'll help us basically empty our hand next turn. So, but yeah, we play another Silvergill. We run out, either Jade Bearer or Kumena's Speaker, and just smack them for 2. Now, the thing about these Gates decks is like they have incredible long game power, but they're really slow to get moving. So opponent has an untapped land here, and we're bracing for like Gates Ablaze or something that would, wrath our board. Instead, they play Guild Summit, and they're going to be able to eventually draw a ton of cards off that. We do draw untapped land, 4th one, which is pretty incredible here because it's going to allow us to slam not only Merfolk Mistbinder, but Vodalian Hexcatcher. And that does 2 things. One, it's going to boost all of our creatures by +2/+2, which almost kills the opponent right here, but it gives us basically a ton of force spikes to use against the opponent's non-creature spells. So they get the card draw of Guild Summit, and now they fire off Gates Ablaze, but we just have so many creatures, like it's just trivial to, force spike it with Vodalian Hexcatcher, and then we have plenty of creatures left to kill them afterwards. So another really good showing from Vodalian Hexcatcher. On to the next one. Land situation is sort of sketchy once again, but we have great spells, Collected Company, and we see Yorion on the other side. Tap land, go. So there's a number of different Yorion decks in this format, so we'll have to sort of see what flavor the opponent's running with here. Okay, so of our land options, decide just to play the Glasspool land and then pass. Opponent shocks in the land and plays Urban Utopia. So this appears already to be like the Enigmatic Incarnation deck, where they have a bunch of like enter the battlefield, get some value enchantments that later become expendable. And then the Enigmatic, I can't pronounce that, Enigmatic Incarnation can then turn them into value creatures, such as Skyclave Apparition. So there's one of them right there. They just run out, gobble up our Merfolk. So we need to start getting them dead quick. Otherwise, their enchantment value is just going to keep stacking up like crazy. So we fire off Hexcatcher, fire off Jade Bearer, load the counter on the Hexcatcher. Wanting to get like sort of the non-creature force spikes up and going, like, because next turn, this is the turn they could have played the namesake card Incarnation, Enigmatic Incarnation. So I wanted to get the Force Spike up for that. So they instead play Omen of the Sea, and they play a land, tap land, and waiting to see what happens. Pass to us. So now we have some collected companies. So end up firing it off pre-combat because once again we have Merfolk Trickster. So we do nab one. We don't have a Lord, but we have Deeproot Elite, which can, it's like it's an honorary Lord. But Merfolk Trickster that was really clutch because that allows us to tap down their blocker and slam in for some damage. And opponent's just in big trouble now because now we have like so many of these like non-creature force spikes available thanks to our Hexcatcher. So opponent just pulls Yorion up to their hand, tap land passes, and they're in the danger zone here. So we draw another land, we have Collected Company up, and now we already have the Merfolk Trickster. So I don't really need to gamble one off Collected Company. We have like the sure thing right here. And my hesitation there was doing some math like, okay, can I actually kill them? Basically calculating Deeproot Elite plus, Kumena's speaker, and yeah, we got there. All right, so that's round 2 of blue-green Coco Merfolk, and we did pretty great. Went 4-1, had some great wins. We were able to grind out some matchups, survive rafts, survive planeswalkers. So anyway, this deck is just so much fun. I'm excited to keep refining it over time, and it just really has an explosive play style that's a lot of fun, as well as some like cool, tricky things you can do since you have some instant speed creatures. So, but yeah, anyway, let me know in the comments. Have you hit any Merfolk off Collected Company lately? Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day.